The London Stock Exchange Group, in partnership with the Nigeria Stock Exchange and PriceWaterHouse Coopers, hosted the Lagos launch of the Companies to Inspire Africa 2019. It brought together stakeholders in the Nigerian government, business and financial market space. In his opening remarks, Mr. Uyi Akpata, Country Senior Partner, PwC Nigeria, said the report captured inspiring stories of companies that were breaking new grounds in Africa.
This pioneering publication identifies some of Africa's most inspiring growth businesses. This year, 360 such businesses from 32 countries across the African continent, covering 7 major sectors, are featured. It is deeply reassuring to note that in spite of the usual challenges around the economy, business climate, ease of doing business, infrastructure, access to finance, amongst others, now to some extent, large extent, issues around security, a common story across many of the territories, there continues to be very, very inspiring stories of organizations breaking new grounds, entering new markets, driving employment and innovation, and delivering services and solving problems. For me, it's even more thrilling that of the 360 companies this year in Africa, 97 Nigerian companies are featured, the largest to feature. This actually demonstrates our strong entrepreneurial spirit. It demonstrates the fact that these businesses are certainly the platform in which Nigeria would create that telling difference. That's where we have that silver lining. That's where we have that ray of hope that will emerge stronger and firmer as the giant of Africa.
Director and co-head of Emerging Markets Unit of the London Stock Exchange Group, Mr. Ibukun Adebayo, described the report as an opportunity to spotlight the success stories of the private sector in Africa.
Why is LSE and the partners, why have we got together to do this publication? So of course it's nice to have companies who are featured, but there's a deep essence behind this story. The first is to put a spotlight on the private sector success of Africa. When you pick up the newspapers in the south coast of France or at the west coast of the US, you will see headlines that do not represent what is happening here in Nigeria and the rest of the continent. We as the LSE and our partners were keen to ensure that the private sector success story is well shone upon. The second reason for doing this is to present investment opportunities to the global investors that invest through London Stock Exchange's markets. The third reason for us to put this together is about partnership and collaboration. So today we've brought together many of the companies that are in the publication who will have a chance to mingle together, to do more business together. I'd just like to dwell very briefly on the exchange partnerships. And the reason why we're doing this is because ultimately these companies aren't necessarily all going to come and list, but they all will need access to finance. And there's a firm belief for us that when the time is ready, that the best way to support these companies, the best way to democratize wealth, is to have efficient and well-functioning stock exchanges and stock markets. So we will continue as the NSE and the LSE to work together to build bridges and ensure that there is a fertile capital market for all of these companies at the right time.
The event featured goodwill messages from the British Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, Harriet Thompson, CEO of the Nigeria Stock Exchange, Mr. Oscar Onyema, and Mr. Okpe George, representative of the Lagos State Governor. In his keynote speech, the Governor of Ogun State, Mr. Dapo Abiodun, assured the business community that his administration will create an enabling environment that will promote investments.
As part of our agenda in promoting agriculture, we have reached advanced stages in our Art Grower scheme. Under this scheme, 10,000 of our youth will be provided with land of 1 hectare each that will be cleared for them by the government. We will also be providing them with fertilizers. We will be ensuring that we provide them with adequate support in terms of seedlings and also guarantee them buyback. Our private investors too are going to reap a bountiful fruits as agriculture and agro-allied industries will be provided a ready pool of raw materials. This is another opening for a public-private partnership between us and the private sector. As a further boost, we are establishing agro-processing zones in alliance with the AFDP. Under our environment and physical planning, we are almost through with the new Ogun State Master Plan, and this will allow us to designate new industrial hubs that will provide full infrastructure, particularly electricity, drainage, and water. We will be leveraging on the crisscross of gas pipeline that runs across the state. Digital economy. This is to provide an economy that is leveraging on ICT that will make information available at the click of a button. And at a further boost, a committee of bank CEOs have approached Ogun State for land to build an entertainment and creative arts village, which will be the largest in Africa. Vocational training. We're committed to capacity building for artisans so that they would be relevant in the new industrial revolution. We are also going to ensure that we continue improvement on our ease of doing business. Towards this, plans are in top gear for the establishment of one, the Ogun State Investment Promotion Agency, which will provide a truly one-stop shop for big investors to know about the natural and mineral resources of our dear state, and our business opportunities. It will also boost the facilitation required to invest in the state, e.g. land acquisition, ownership, community relations, statutory documentation, and linkages with suppliers, especially farmers, thus increasing the ranking of Ogun State on the Global Ease of Doing Business Index. Ogun State Enterprise Development Agency. This we are creating to strengthen the MSMEs and boost their capacities as the major producers of raw materials and off-takers to the big industries, distributors, and wholesalers. The agency will assist in the facilitation of all available intervention funds from the federal government through the CBN and monitor compliance with all requirements in order to achieve its objectives. As these MSMEs thrive, big industries will also flourish. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I enjoin you to come with us in this journey to greatness. It gladdens my heart that many of us seated here represent some of the industries that are already enjoying the gateway advantage. A lot of you seated here are already partners in our progress. Let me therefore call on those who are not already in Ogun State to come, join us, invest in Ogun State, and build our future together with us. I assure you that you will find us ready partners and reap bountiful harvest of your investment.
The report launch also featured a panel session with Dr. Andrew Nevin, the Chief Economist, PwC Nigeria, as moderator, and Dr. Okechukwu Enelama, former Industries, Trade and Investment Minister, and Yewande Sadiku, Executive Secretary, Nigeria Investment Promotion Council, as panelists. Governor Dapo Abiodun speaks further on promoting a business-friendly Ogun State, while Mr. Ibukun Adebayo and Mr. Uyi Akpata give their perspectives on the prospects of high-growth companies driving the economies of Nigeria and Africa.
Like I said earlier, one of the first ways that Ogun State plans to achieve that is by ensuring that we pay adequate attention to all the tenets of good governance. We believe that if we ensure that we govern rightly, if we are focused and qualitative, that itself will send the right signals to people that we are trying to attract come and do business in Ogun State. And what is that? If we are transparent, if we are accountable, if we are participatory, if we obey the rule of law, if we are just, if we are fair, we are equitable. We believe that these are indicators that would help attract investors to Ogun State. I talked about security. You can't be asking people to come to Ogun State if you do not ensure that you have peace and security across the state. So we are consequently re-establishing our security trust fund that will have good corporate governance and will be independent, so that we can ensure that we give support to our law enforcement agencies, adequate support in the areas of patrol, communication, personnel, and so on and so forth. And once you have good governance, you have security. The next thing is to ensure you have an adequate, road network that ensures the ease of connectivity of people between our state, which is the gateway state, and adjacent states. We believe that once we're able to do that, people can either come and establish presence in Ogun State or live in Ogun State and work anywhere else with relative ease. And that itself will begin to promote investment in our state. So we're doing that. Whilst doing that, we appreciate the fact that once we're able to get people to come and establish in Ogun State, they employ our people, it will trickle down to economic prosperity. We also appreciate the fact that we need to prepare our citizenry for this economic revolution that's going to take place in Ogun State. We need to educate them, either by having them trained in vocational skills or ensuring that we boost up our educational standards to where it used to be. Today, our educational standards have declined, even though we have the highest number of tertiary education centers, schools in the country. So we are having an education summit, we are revamping the whole education sector, we are training people. We are also going to use ICT to cause a digital transformation of the state. We are creating ICT hubs. So in short, we're preparing our youths, we're engaging them. We're launching a job portal. That job portal will distinguish between those that have skills that don't have jobs and those that don't have any skills. The ones that don't have skills, we will train them and certify them. The ones that have skills, we also recertify them. We are preparing the state for this revolution that is about to happen. And like I said, our mantra remains building our future together, and we'll join hands with everyone and ensure that indeed our future will be built together. Thank you very much.
So one of the reasons why we've put together this publication is very simple. If you are a South Coast investor in France or a West Coast investor in the US, everything you will hear about Africa is about the headlines, macroeconomic doom and disaster. What we decided with this publication is we need to shine a spotlight so that African private sector companies are able to really be spotlighted by these companies. So the benefits for companies, to your question, is ultimately that they have an opportunity to be showcased to the global investor base that the London Stock Exchange has access to through London and through its other opportunities. So in that respect, companies in the 2017 publication were able to raise £1.9 billion to support their capital raising and financing transactions. 23 companies undertook M&A activities after being in the publications, and then a further 30 companies were able to announce major cross-border and international expansion plans.
This, to me, is a very important event because it provides us with an opportunity, one of those many channels, to sell the Africa success story. I mean, especially social media and the rest, you see a lot of negatives. But here we have a situation where, together with our partners, the London Stock Exchange Group, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the British government, and one or two professional bodies, PwC has come together to identify 360 companies in Africa, 97 of them in Nigeria, where against very difficult economic situations, they are thriving and actually making change in their various countries, as it were.
With Nigeria accounting for 97 of the 360 firms captured in the Companies to Inspire Africa 2019, it is clear that a robust partnership between the public and private sector will see more high-performing companies emerge from the country.